The transfer portal is closed. Wow, we survived, Scotty. Let's look back at the Buffs transfer class, kind of put some grades, a real quick analysis on how they did in the 2026 transfer portal.
Let's dive into it, bro. Hey, the Buffs got active in this transfer portal window. 35 plus transfers added as of the time of this recording. That's the fourth most transfers added in FBS. This portal window. So like I said, the Buffs got active. Let's dive into it. Let's go position by position. Let's start with the most important position on the field, quarterback, right? Yeah. Because Colorado did add a transfer quarterback. That is Isaac Wilson, the Utah transfer. 2 seasons with the Utes, 1,500 passing yards, 10 touchdowns as well, 7 starts as a true freshman, played against Colorado in that game in 2024 where the Buffs dominated. Wilson said that Brennan Marion, Colorado OC, was a main factor for his interest in the Buffs. And I think this is a solid backup for Julian Lewis. What say you?
It's about as good as you can get in terms of a backup out of the transfer portal. Game experience, still has some youth on his side too. He's going to obviously grow. And if you've seen him in game action, you've seen him twice in game action, right? So, and he's had some big wins. So you know that if you're in a pinch and if for some reason, God forbid, Julian can't go, you at least have a veteran back there. I'll even throw out Sweetwine. I mean, this is just a talented guy
for sure.
Coming in. Obviously he's going to be catching Brennan Marion's eye, so you love that already. But these guys are athletes too at the position, right?
Sure.
And Julian does have that sneaky athleticism, so don't sleep on how active the Buffs quarterbacks can get with their legs.
Yeah, Isaac Wilson, obviously the younger brother of NFL quarterback Zach Wilson. And Travis Hunter allowed just 1 touchdown in pass coverage as a Colorado Buffalo. You remember who threw that?
Was it Isaac
Wilson? It was Isaac Wilson, which is crazy to think about. And now he is a Buff. So I give that one transfer addition, I would say it's a solid B. You agree?
Yeah, B+, A- even, honestly. I don't really think you can do that much better, especially when you already have a solidified starter in-house.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the running back spot. Obviously, Colorado in this portal window, they lost Dallin Hayden to the portal. They lost Simeon Price to the portal. They retained their leading rusher from last season, Michael Welch. But Brennan Marion, again, Colorado's new offensive coordinator, brought over 2 of his former Sac State running backs over to Boulder, Damian Henderson II, Jaquil Smith. Henderson and Smith last season combined for 1,076 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns on 6.5 yards per carry in 2025. 2 guys who are obviously familiar with this go-go offense and showed some real flashes of explosiveness last season. Jaquil Smith was just a true freshman last year, getting some good run. But I like these 2 additions in the running back room. What say you?
I mean, look, some might say this is overwhelming just because of the names and where these guys are coming from, but I think the continuity with Brennan Marion and the go-go offense is worth more than you can put stars on in the transfer portal.
Definitely.
I really like it. I'm going to go probably B-. I mean, we still have some questions, right? Who's going to be the lead back? And is it deep enough at this point? They could still at this position. Also, might be worth mentioning adding Boo Carter to this position as well. With what he said yesterday. So no real complaints about what they did, but they got to prove it, and it's really just coming down to faith in Brennan Marion.
Like you mentioned, Marion kind of teased on Instagram yesterday that Boo Carter could play a little bit running back, so that could be another little X factor in that room. I agree with you, though. I gave it a B for the running back spot in terms of the transfer portal activity. Let's move on to receivers, man. Whew. This receiver room got reloaded.
Holy cow.
I ain't gonna lie, Jake. It's giving me 2024 vibes a little bit with this receiving core. I'm not gonna lie. I think Julian Lewis has got to be elated with his new receiving core. It's kind of highlighted by Texas transfer DeAndre Moore Jr. after 2 seasons at Texas, last 2 years, 988 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns with the Longhorns. They added the nation's leading receiver from last year, Daniel Scudero from San Jose State. Cam Perry as well is also in the mix. Almost had 1,000 receiving yards on just 43 catches last year at Miami of Ohio, which is just ridiculous. And then Brennan Marion also brought in one of his Sac State receivers, Ernest Flash Campbell, is going to quickly be arguably the fastest player on the team. Was an FCS All-American last year in 2025. Those 4 transfer receivers that Colorado brought in last season combined to catch 206 passes for 3,554 yards and 28 touchdowns. 18 yards a catch, combined between those four, I think this is an A+ job.
A+++.
For real.
Phenomenal job by the recruiting staff, and they're all going to cook with Julian and Brennan Marion's go offense.
No doubt, man. And don't sleep on my boy JoJo either.
Oh no, we got some returning guys.
Returning dogs for sure. But yeah, those 4 transfer receivers. I mean, I don't know how you could have done better. Let's go to our last position here on the offensive line. On the offense, and turn to the offensive line. Obviously, Jordan Seaton is kind of the big news. Him hitting the portal here this week. But Colorado added 3 tackles with Power 4 starting experience. Rutgers transfer Taj White, 20 career starts, 1,500 career snaps. I would probably be a good bet, I think, to start at one of the tackle spots this year. They did also add Georgia transfer Bo Hughley, started 2 games at right tackle for Georgia last year, and Javen Richardson, who started a couple games at left tackle for Mizzou last year. Another Sac State guy on the offensive line brought in Jose Soto.
Yep.
He was just starting guard for Sac State last year. Didn't allow a sack in the 11 games started. And then a couple of center options. Demetrius Pancake Hunter, who I really like, coming in from Houston. He started every game over the last 2 years for the Cougars. And then Lafayette transfer Sean Kinney, another 2-year starter at center, can play some guard as well. They've added some bodies here with some experience. What do you think? What do you make of this offensive line movement activity?
I feel like this is one of the hardest ones to grade.
Yeah.
You just got to see these guys on the field. You got to see how they work together. I do love the continuity in terms of the coaching staff, though. Getting those 3 back and the progress that they showed from the previous offensive lines before them just last season is very encouraging to me. I love the experience. I love the pedigree, especially of Bo Hughley.
Yeah.
And he's obvious someone's going to have to play left tackle. I think he might be the leader in the clubhouse right now. But I just think, again, with Brennan Marion, just the philosophy, how they want to run the ball this next season, that alone is going to pay dividends, and you're probably going to see a more functioning offensive line, maybe if the talent is not as good as it was last year, even if it is just at left tackle.
Yeah. I think this group got my lowest grade. I think I'll give this like a B-.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like some of the names. I like the experience. I think probably Demetrius Pancake Hunter is probably the only guy they've added where you're just like, starter.
Yeah.
The rest of the guys certainly have starter potential and capabilities. And maybe even Taj White, you might throw in that conversation as well. But you would have liked to see a couple more surefire starters, and they might not be done. But I think B- is a fair grade to give this offensive line unit. Move on to the other side of the ball.
Let's
to
do
the
it.
other side of the trenches defensive line. Arguably the most work that's been done for this team in the portal was on this defensive line. At least 11 interior or edge players have been added via the portal in this window. Many of them are coming from the G5 FCS ranks. We're not going to name all of them, but a couple guys. Lamont Lester Jr. from Monmouth, who I really like. FCS All-American, freshman All-American this past year, 9.5 sacks. Toby Anene from North Dakota State, another really talented edge rusher. Emmanuel Eziogu from James Madison. Balansama Kamara from Albany. They got some guys. The San Jose State transfer as well. They got some dogs that I think they've added to this defensive line. What do you make of it? Who are some of your favorites that they've added?
Man, so many of them. I thought they did an excellent job. Santana Hopper, just the numbers in terms of the pressures for these guys.
Yes.
Him included, Ezra Christensen, Toby Anene, all these like kind of, I'm not going to say undersized edges, but like athletic edges.
Yeah.
And, Kamara, Eziogu, Lamont Lester, as you mentioned. I mean, look, man, in the transfer portal, we've saw the last few years. You can try and go after the big ticket guys on defense, but it's really production that counts the most. And they're bringing in tons of production. I'd probably say A- in terms of the defensive line and how they've rebuilt that. Again, it's a total rebuild. So I'm going to show a little bit of grace and I think bump up the grade maybe just from a B+ to an A- just for that.
A- is exactly where my mind was at as well. I think that's a fair grade, and I think that is as well as you could have asked. And like you mentioned, you kind of had to redo the entire room, and I thought they'd done a solid job of doing that. Let's move up a level to linebacker, where I put that right up with receiver.
Yeah.
Like, I think they've done some great work at the linebacker spot. I think this is arguably the most improved position on the football team, right?
For sure.
Liona Lefau comes over from Texas, a 2-year starter for the Longhorns, 138 tackles in his career at Texas. He's going to form a really strong linebacker duo for the Buffs this year with Bowling Green transfer Gideon ESPN Lampron. We had Gideon on the show a couple weeks ago. A leader in every sense of the word.
Yes.
And a dog as well.
Yeah,
119 tackles last season, 17 and a half tackles for loss. And you throw in New Mexico State transfer Tyler Martinez as well, who was All-Conference USA in 2024. Those 3 additions at linebacker for a position that was another spot that kind of had to get redone, especially after some of the struggles at that room last year. I don't know if you could have done much better between those 3 guys. Those 3 guys combined last season, 215 tackles and 21 and a half tackles for loss.
Excellent production. Also, I just love how this room's going to work out. You obviously have the young guys coming in and the freshmen, right? Mm-hmm. And you bring in 3 experienced, potential starters, obviously, but just to help bring that room along as well, because it was an issue last year. It was probably the biggest issue in terms of what let down the defense for Colorado in 2025. So if you have these guys in, to kind of reset that culture and then pass that down to the freshmen as well, I just love the future of this room. Up there with wide receiver, as you said, A+. 2
A+. I think receiver and linebacker is 2 positions that Colorado did some real work in. Last position group we'll talk about in grade here, defensive back. We'll lump corner and safety into this position group here. Boo Carter kind of highlights this group. Yeah. All freshman SEC team in 2024. Played 7 games at nickel slot corner this past year for the Vols. Randon Fontenette is my guy, literally and figuratively. My number 1 draft pick in our My Guys transfer draft from Vanderbilt to safety. Leader in every sense of the word, 124 tackles, 13 PBUs over the last 2 seasons. Nathan Mitchell as well, New Mexico State safety, really talented player, led the Aggies in tackles. James Madison, transfer cornerback, Justin Eaglin, 8 PBUs, 5 picks this year, had a pick in the CFP against Oregon. Emory Floyd, App State corner transfer as well, could potentially provide some depth, maybe be a potential starter in that secondary as well. I really like the safety room. I think you want to add maybe 1 more in the corner room, but I think the safety additions have me giving this an A. What say you?
I'm probably not as high. I'm probably around a B, maybe B+. Okay. I could be talked into. Obviously, I love the production, but I feel like maybe this room, as well as the line positions, offensive and defensive line, might be the hardest to translate. True. Because they are going to face some athletes in the Big 12. You know what I mean? And that's just a different level of type of player than you're used to seeing in, Justin Eaglin's case, from James Madison and where are they? Conference USA? What's it? Sunbelt maybe?
I think Sunbelt is right. Yes. So Sunbelt.
That's a pretty big jump, in my opinion. No doubt. But I do love what you brought in from the safety room as well. Obviously, you lose your best defensive player in Tawfiq Bayard, so you have to replace that. And I think they did just fine there. So, I'll say a B, just because I think you still have some work to do there. Yeah. And I think you really have to project in that room too. That's one of the most wait and see rooms I think that we have.
I think that's fair. Let us know in the comments what grade you would give the Buffs in this transfer portal window. We made it through though. The transfer portal is closed. There might be some additions, but ain't nobody leaving. If you here, you locked in. You know what I'm saying? So hit that like button, drop a comment as well. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see y'all soon.